Hi guys, welcome to this week's video. So this week I'm going to be upcycling a bench and it's just in time, ready for spring. And as you can see, the first daffodil has come out. Okay, it's only one daffodil, but it looks gorgeous all the same. And as you can see, it's a gorgeous sunny day, winter. The frost is still on the grass behind me, but we're going to crack on and refurbish this bench. So we've got the bench here. And as you can see, oh, it's a bit dodgy and I think it's going to fall apart at any point at any time. So it really does need refurbishing because although I am sitting on it now, I wouldn't trust it at all. So here we have the bench, which is in really quite a sorry state. And well, there we are. As you can see, that's how rotten it is. So I'm going to take all of these pieces of wood off, and I've managed to buy some oak from the local timber yard, which I absolutely love going to, as watchers of this channel know. And I managed to get two large pieces of oak, planks of oak, for 10 quid, and I'm going to cut them in half lengthways and in half kind of through the middle as well, and that should hopefully give me enough of the benches or the pieces of wood that I'm going to need, the slats that I'm going to need to fix this bench. But the first thing I'm going to do is actually dismantle it so that I can hopefully try and paint the two ends so they can start getting a first coat of paint on while I'm cutting the wood. So let's get going. Hopefully these screws, yeah, they I think I'm going to need a little bit more than just this. So hopefully they'll all come off, otherwise I'm going to have to snap them off. Bench dismantled. So the next thing I'm going to do is try and clean these metal side bits up and probably give them a paint. So, and then while they're drying, I can hopefully cut and sand the new planks for the new bench. I've just noticed here that because it's actually slightly thicker, you can see that when I put this on, the wood actually sticks out. So I may cut around here and so that I can actually then put this right up flush against the wood. And then what I'll do is I'll just screw up and screw down through the plastic, through the frame. But we'll see how it goes. Now we've got to get cutting. Now this might look like a slightly odd setup, but the reason why I've done this is the oak is really hard to cut through and I kind of need to push against it. So as I'm sawing this way, I can push against the wall and that will keep the piece of wood nice and solid and keep me safe. And then obviously when I get to the end, then I'll move it so I can kind of cut through to the end. So there we are. I've now cut my planks in half lengthways and in half. So I've now got the planks that I need to make my bench. The next thing I'm going to do is I think the rest of the metal work and everything has had time to dry. So I'm going to now paint them so I can get the first coat on, and then hopefully once that's all dry we can start rebuilding the bench. sun is starting to come out a little bit. I've managed to put one coat of paint on, and I'm about to put a second coat on. But I just wanted to make sure that the wood sort of sat correctly on the two sides, basically because the wood that I got is obviously a lot thicker than the wood that I had before. So let me just grab you another piece of one of these pieces of wood. So here's the piece of wood that was on the bench before, and obviously if I put it against this piece of wood that I've now got, you can actually see that obviously it's a lot thicker than the previous wood, which isn't a bad thing. But what I need to do is make sure when I'm putting it on the bench that it sort of doesn't sort of sit inside the lip that I've got there. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to cut a little notch out, and that will then allow the piece of wood to kind of just sit in a bit nicer, and I think it will probably give a much better, nicer finish. So one of the problems I've got is the old bench actually had a piece of wood behind or attached like that, and then this is how it was attached with screws running like that. Now I kind of think that looks a bit ugly on the back, but also because my pieces of wood are slightly thicker, it kind of is sunk in a little bit, which isn't necessarily a problem, but I'm not really liking the back of that. So what my plan is I'm actually going to cut this bit off, and I have done so already here, so that what I'll do is I will then just screw this through the wood, and then I can actually have that flush with the wood, and I can just screw it really just in through the plastic at each point into the wood. So I'm just going to cut that sort of frame off, and hopefully that means it will sit better in what I'm doing. So the next thing is I've sanded all of the blocks of wood, so the next thing to do is I'm going to paint it. Now some of you might disagree to painting oak, but I only used the oak because I managed to get the wood cheaply. If it was something else I would have painted it anyway. So I'm painting all of the slats a blue. It's called Forget Me Not, and I think it gives a really nice finish. So here we are, and I've got the two sides painted. I've given them two coats, and I've given two coats to the planks here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to lay the planks out. As you see, it's not connected. I'm going to lay the planks out just to make sure they all kind of fit together and everything's okay, and then I'm probably going to mark underneath where I'm going to put my screws, and then I'm going to drill a pilot hole. Because this is oak, it's going to be very difficult to put a screw in without doing a pilot hole. So I'm going to do a pilot hole and then screw this in, and that should hopefully keep the bottom frame or all these bottom planks in place. And then I'm probably going to work on the top part here, because that's slightly different or slightly more complicated, because it's obviously got the plastic bit that's going to sit in the middle. So that's what I'm going to do now. Okay, so I haven't yet screwed all of these in. I'm slightly worried that obviously when I screw them in, it's going to obviously pull the frame, and then I won't be able to get the back bit in. So I'm thinking now, before I screw the rest of these in, I'm going to try and do the back bit. So there we are, just filming the bench, and a whole load of cranes are flying over the house. Hopefully you can hear the noise as well, which is a gorgeous sound. But to me, That's the noise of spring coming back. So here we are, and I've now done the back and got everything ready. So hopefully it's just a case of screwing it all together and we should be there. And it'll be a nice bench to sit on and enjoy the cranes flying over. So let's give it a go. Right, I'm going to try and put this back one on first. You might have noticed I've put this bench here. The reason why I've done that is just so that I can rest one side on the wall and one side on this plant box, just to kind of, I suppose, keep it standing up while I'm doing everything. So there we are. The rain is about to come. I've just realised that was the first time I sat on the bench, but yeah, it's pretty sturdy. I'm pretty happy with that. It looks a hell of a lot better than it did before. Yeah, it's given it a complete new lease of life. No, I'm really happy with that. It looks great. Well, I hope you enjoyed this week's video. Don't forget to subscribe and click the bell so you get notified of future videos. I think I'm going to go inside now as it's starting to rain. So I'll see you next time. Cheers, guys. Bye.